Hello and welcome to Just a Moment. My name is Kristen Harding. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to do the blessing cards first and we're going to start a new book because Guy Anderson's conspiracy theories are really super cool. But there's a book I really think that might be more appropriate for right now because a lot of my friends, and I included, are going through some, let's say, changes in energy, changes in shift. We're noticing different things, we're feeling different energies. And Elizabeth April, I've been watching her. She is a remote viewer and channeler, and I think I've been watching her for almost 10 years. She doesn't proclaim to be much other than a channeler, like I said, and a remote viewer, but I know she does have a list of credentials that's getting longer by the minute, and I believe that she was even on Gaia. So I'm kind of excited to share this with you, and especially the name of the book because it's kind of applicable. It says, "You're not dying, you're just waking up." And I know that on our spiritual journey, sometimes, when we go through ego death and we go through just different sorts of milestones in our journey, it feels like it's the end, but it's not. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. So, on that note, today's blessing card, we're going to go with the card first, and that is a blessing on your day. And then it says, a blessing to bring awareness, to shape and set the energy of the day, and to frame it with light and the possibility of healing, adventure, and gratitude. May your soul feel called by the song of the day. May this day be gentle and good, clear and sure, filled with grace and gentle reminders of your own divinity. May the people you meet this day show generosity of spirit, be hospitable and welcoming, and open and candid in all their dealings. May the sky be filled with blue and white. May the green beneath your feet be solid and soft to walk upon. May the rain fall soft and nourishing, and the trees whisper to you the secrets that you need to know. May any challenges you encounter find an answering strength and courage within you. And that was it. I turned the page and I thought there was going to be more, but we'll just read that last line one more time because I don't want to end it on an up note. And it says, may any challenges you encounter find an answering strength and courage within you. There, I like that better. All right. Well, I'm going to go over to the comments because I am still over in the other part of the StreamYard here. So I'm going to pop over here and says, oh, hello, hello, hello. And I see Paula saying hello, hi. Kind of wonderful having your own support system. All right, dedication. Here's the book one more time. Elizabeth April is the lady that wrote this, and I do admire her. I know that right now there are a lot of people that are saying beware of false prophets. So I'm going to say that this is for entertainment purposes only. I am not stating that this is fact. This is just one person's opinion, and I believe it's a rather enlightened one. So here we go, dedication. This book is dedicated to you and every single incarnation you have had on this planet. You came here on a mission. You lost your previous memories, and now it's time to be reminded. You're not dying, you're just waking up. If it wasn't for the work you put in to your own awakening, I wouldn't have been able to release this information to thank you. I would also like to dedicate this to my family and tribe for supporting me on this journey that I am on. All of you have helped me with the balance that I've needed along the way. If it wasn't for my loved ones on this planet, I wouldn't be here today. And it's signed EA, which we all know is Elizabeth April. All right, disclaimer. I will say this once and leave it here. Everything in this book is coming directly from my own experience and ability to access information beyond this physical realm. I have gained this information through methods of clairvoyance, past life regression, remote viewing, and telepathic conversations with interdimensional beings. This book overviews 10 years of knowledge gathered through these methods. I do not expect you to agree with everything. However, I do ask you to keep an open mind throughout. You can take it or leave it, depending on what resonates. I like that as a disclaimer. A welcome reminder. Hello, curious soul, and welcome to my first book. Woohoo! You might be a fan of my previous downloads and information from that thing called the internet, or you may be just brand new to me and my content, so welcome. Even if you have seen my content before, it's time to strap in and hold on tight, because this book is not your average text. This will be life-changing in one way or another. The content within this book will literally shift your DNA. This book is your soul's reminder of how powerful you are and how much you already know. This content may make you laugh, cry, or cheer up, or get angry. If, when this book triggers you, you guess what? Guess what? That's a good thing if it triggers you. It means the information is challenging your old belief systems. It means it's waking you up. Although you may know me from videos, I was born to write books. Even when I was 6 years old, my mom told me I would have a piece of paper and a pencil in my hand, pacing the backyard saying, I know I need to write. I just don't know what it is. So although it took me a daunting 28 years to write, this entire thing came out of me in just 4 days. I hope you relax, enjoy, and upgrade while you read this epic journey of awakening and adventure. My credentials. Elizabeth says, I am not a 10th generational psychic. I have never been trained for what I do. I don't have any physical or traditional credentials at all. If this doesn't work for you, then this book isn't for you. The information in this book isn't mine. I do not own it and can never possess it. I am simply a conduit of this information. I was told at a very young age to never do any external research on these subjects, or else I would have failed school. Well, she's saying on these subjects, otherwise she would have failed school if she didn't do any external research. But yeah, we got it. This is because I am already plagued with the challenge of dealing with my own perception and limitations as I attempt to translate the information of the universe. The lack of external research and information is simultaneously one of my greatest strengths as it is one of my greatest weaknesses. It leaves me pure but also ignorant. Everything I talk about in this book I have either experienced firsthand, mostly through astral travel, channeled within a download from source, or from interdimensionals, or witnessed and remembered from my own past lives. Apart from my own experiences, the biggest resource of this information has been through channeling other people's information. Over the past 8 years, I have had thousands of clients from all over the world seeking information. They ask me questions, and those questions direct my ability to channel. Every soul is a piece of the bigger picture, and every soul I read gives me more and more information so that I am able to see the bigger picture, or at least try to. Thought experiment. Think about me having 100 clients and going into 5 past lifetimes per client. That's 500 past lives. I, as an objective observer, get to witness. Now think about the thousands of clients I have had and the tens of thousands of lifetimes I have observed both on and off this planet. Mind blown emoji inserted here. My own journey. Throughout this book, I reference the parts of my own journey. Of course, this book isn't about me at all. It's about the information that has been funneling through me for the past 28 years. Before moving forward, I need you to understand the difference between me as a human and the information within this book. I, as Elizabeth April, am simply a little human living my life on this planet called Earth. When I channel, the words that come out of my mouth are not mine at all. I do not own these words, or really have any control over the order in which they come out. Sometimes I don't even know the definition of the word. The separation between my human and the source of the information is extremely important. If I told you I had this incredible almighty gift to speak to the universe, source, God, because I was some sort of alien hybrid savior, I would literally be going against the concepts I teach. I would be disempowering you, implying I am different from you. Trust me, some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth shocks me most of the time. I've even received downloads of information that, as a human, I am unable to unpack and comprehend until years later. And this book might just be like that for you. The point is, she says, I'm not special. This book is just a reminder of all the information you already have. It's literally a wake-up call. You always had this information within you. You were just sleeping on it for the right moment, and that moment is now. As a human, I have been subjected to all the nitty-gritty bullshit everyone has to go through during an awakening. The ignorance, the attachment, the ego, the collapse, the crying, the depression, the empathic sensitivities, the cosmic euphoria, the DNA unlocks. Yeah, it gets better, much better. What you need to know before you continue. This book can be read in a variety of ways. You can read it from start to finish, one chapter at a time. You can read it from the end to the beginning, one chapter at a time. You can there you go. You can intuitively ask yourself what you need to know in that moment and see what page you open it to. Kind of like the Oracle card deck. You can just go through the chapters you feel most connected to, and so on. However, I highly recommend that you read this book from start to finish. I have positioned the stages of awakening in chronological order based on how most people experience them. I have designed it in chronological order based on the natural progression of DNA unlocking and spiritual awakening. The later chapters refer to the earlier chapters, and even though you might think that you know the information shared within one chapter, I promise you, you will learn something from every topic, even if it's just the ability to see it in a different way. Ultimately, like everything in life, it is completely up to you how you want to process this information. Defining terms. The biggest struggle that I have being a conduit for information is the limitation of language. By no means whatsoever am I a linguist, and if it weren't for my amazing editors, there would be spelling mistakes all over the place. This being said, my simple comprehension of the English language does indeed help me explain complex concepts in digestible ways. However, there are things that simply cannot be explained by language. Concepts, feelings, experiences that we just don't have any words for, and any words we do have fail to fully grasp the essence of it. Like anyone trying to explain a dream or a psychedelic trip. Due to the fact that everyone has their own perception of what each term means, I have taken the time to define my terms throughout the book. Within each chapter, I have new terms, and I make a point of defining each term so that we are both on the same page. No pun intended. At the back of the book, you will find a master list of defined terms, so at any time throughout, you will be able to flip to that page and go over any terms that you may not be aware of. You will see that sometimes I place 2 or even 3 or 4 words together with slashes when I talk about something. This is so that you can understand there are many different words to represent that energy. An example of this would be universe slash source slash God slash you universe, like the universe inside you. Oneness, you get the point. It's up to you to take your pick at what resonates the most. Side note, speaking of universe versus universe, I will use both of these spellings. Ultimately, they represent the exact same thing. I will use the spelling of universe when I am talking about more of a whole existence. I will use the spelling universe to represent and emphasize the fact that you are a mirror representation of the whole universe. This is important to ingrain into your system in order to help you take your power back and become the ultimate master of your reality. These definitions are not set in stone, so to speak. They are the best way I can explain the meaning as I understand them. Every time I define a term, I switch up the wording just a little, however. The meaning itself always remains the same. This is an important point to note for the entire book. Do not get caught up in semantics. There are many words and explanations. The way I see and understand things is not the end all, be all truth. Not even close. You are meant to read this and make your own conclusions and assumptions. You are not obligated to take everything as it is. I don't even take everything at face value. Ever heard the term, take it with a grain of salt? Please keep that in mind for the content of this book. Time for a sip of water. This just proves I'm not AI. Whew. AI is getting so amazing though. We've been watching some regular television, and the commercials are almost all AI now. It's crazy. All right. So that was the beginning. Now we have the contents, the chapter headings, which I won't go through, and let us begin phase one, waking up, living life on autopilot. Hey, Starseed, by beginning this book, you are dedicating yourself to change. The journey of awakening is not an easy one. You have chosen to embark on something meaningful and magnificent, but also something that will test and challenge every aspect of who you are. This journey will make you laugh and cry, sometimes at the same time. Awakening can be a scary, isolating journey at times, but this book is here to act as a guide and a friend. Sometimes the biggest validation in life comes from seeing our experiences mirrored. You have taken the first big step, and your higher self is high fiving you as we speak. This book contains many keys. Some you are aware of, and others you may not be. Make sure you circle back around to the definitions list anytime you feel stuck on a word. Enjoy the journey, and remember, just because you have the key doesn't mean you always have to unlock the door right away. You are not alone. I am here with you. EA. Elizabeth April. All right. A solid 90% of the human population is living their life on autopilot. They are living day to day, making choices and decisions without the awareness of choice or free will. It's as if some unknown force is pulling us to react and respond without our knowing. So, what is that force, and how can we take our power back from it? This may sound familiar because you have been here once before. I know you have broken through this phase. I know this because you are reading this book. Now, of course, we all have our moments and even days where we don't want to think about what we're doing from moment to moment. Sure, you may still have old mechanisms and programming that can reappear, especially when backed into fearful situations. But for the most part, you are questioning your reality and willing to change. There's a big difference between being on autopilot in a lower vibration and being on autopilot in a higher vibration. As long as you are bringing awareness to every moment, you have the capacity to change your state of being. Once you bring awareness into your life, there's no getting rid of it in the best way possible. As an object As an objective observer and experiencer, the most unfortunate and ultimately saddest part of autopilot phase is this is not just a phase for most people. People can be stuck on autopilot for lifetime after lifetime. By stepping out of autopilot, you transition into the questioning phase of your own awakening. I wouldn't be surprised if most of your friends and family are still in the autopilot phase. In this phase, we are motivated by our fight or flight mechanism that constantly propels us into fear-based decisions. I'm not talking about the fear you feel when you come across a spider. I'm talking about a deeper fear of judgment, persecution, lack, or disappointment, even a fear of success. These deeper fears hold us back from wanting to make new decisions in life. This is because the biggest fear that all humans face, the ultimate fear embedded within our DNA, is the fear of the unknown. On autopilot, we are constantly in a state of survival and protection. Even if your life is super shitty, you will continue to make choices that perpetuate those results for fear of an even worse result, the ultimately propelling us into self-sabotaging behaviors. I don't blame society for this. I blame the system we have all been faced with. In every stage of humanity's evolution, we are taught that we are not safe. In every stage of our life, we are taught that we are not good enough. We have been told in order to be good enough, we must conform. We reward the ones who conform the most in society: the doctors, the lawyers, the lobbyists of society are the ones who have gone through the most amount of indoctrination or education, as the government likes to put it. Even humans living simple lives on this planet have been starved of the truth. Although there are many truths out there, the main one I want to discuss is the fact that we are not just simple humans living on this rock, floating in space. We are highly connected, vastly intelligent souls who have been traveling the universe, living life after life, gaining access to infinite amounts of information. I know that's a lot to picture, but sit with it. If the government told everyone we are actually souls existing in human flesh suits, ew, right? People would start waking up and questioning everything in their existence. What is the soul? What is it capable of? Does the soul go after death? Does the soul hold information? If the soul does hold information, are we able to access that information? When we deny 50% of our current state of existence, it will lead us to a life of distraction. Deep down, each of us is aware of the truth that we are greater than we have been led to believe. We distract ourselves with relationships, jobs, money, stress, drugs, alcohol, social media, scrolling, shopping, unnecessary drama, so on, so on, so on. We try to overconsume the physical world because we are scared our life doesn't have meaning. If we are only looking at the physical world, then our life truly doesn't have much meaning. And F, that's depressing. But the world doesn't teach us differently. Typically in human history, when we do begin to question things, it leads us down the rabbit hole of religion. When we look into our recent past, the belief in God or a higher power placed all the internal questioning at bay and created a complacent acceptance of belief. Praising a middle-aged white man chilling in the sky who is waiting to smite us for our sins. She says, what the fuck? Religions, especially monotheistic religions, are harmful to our souls. They disempower us to believe that we are not the creator of our reality. Hopefully, by the end of this book, you'll know exactly who is creating this reality. Just a little hint. You know them very well. On a personal note, Elizabeth says, I was once on autopilot myself. When I was around age 16, I had a huge wake-up call. I was in a long-term relationship with this boy from another high school. Overall, it was a tumultuous relationship, to say the least, but we did care for each other in that hopeless romantic high school sort of way. We would message each other cute good morning texts and hold hands in public, but sometimes I wouldn't hear from him for days. Since he was a few years older, he would drive around in his grandma's old boat of a Buick, and I thought he was the coolest. Girls at the other high school would Facebook message me saying he was cheating or sleeping around, and I wouldn't believe any of it. I was committed but also blinded by what I wanted to see rather than seeing what was. After that, things went downhill. I felt unheard and unseen. I started flirting with other boys at my high school. I went to a party without him one time and made out with this guy who was really just a friend. Well, news got around and came back to him. I blamed him for my actions because in my projected reality, he started it. This went on for a few years until I went away to university. One day we got into this huge fight over nothing, and he said to me, "You know, you aren't as great a girlfriend as you think you are. This whole time you have been blaming me, but you are the absent one. You are the one flirting with other guys. I have been separating myself from you because you clearly don't care about me." In that moment, I woke up to the truth of my reality. Throughout the whole relationship, I was so focused on blaming him that I never saw my actions for what they were. I may not have started off as the problem, but eventually I became it. We both perpetuated the problem and weren't mature enough to simply communicate. I never took responsibility for my own part to play. This is an aspect of autopilot. Some people are on autopilot in their jobs or relationships or in all the aspects of their lives. When someone questions our casual narrative of everything's okay, we either react and push back or break down and change. For me, I reacted and pushed back at first. I would yell at him and blame him for everything, protecting my illusion of being a good girlfriend. I blamed him, but still wanted him. We would fight and go on like this constantly. When we finally broke up, I was 18. It had a huge detrimental effect on my studies, my health, and even my ability to make friends in university. I was consumed with keeping my reality protected. I felt as though it was safer to stay in something toxic than it was to create something new and unknown. It wasn't until I started having major physical symptoms, which landed me in and out of hospital, where things started to take a change for the better. The forced vulnerability of not knowing what was happening or if I was going to be okay broke me down to a point where I needed to change to save myself. This was the time in my life where I got preliminarily diagnosed with lupus, a potentially debilitating autoimmune disease. They said at 18, I was young to have this show up. Time to turn the page, sorry. I was so fearful and distraught that I ended up going to a medical medium. She began to read my energy and immediately asked if I was going through autoimmune issues. I explained what was happening, and she checked further. She said that autoimmune disease issues were genetically predisposed within me. I felt this sense of dread. That's it. There's no getting rid of it. I'm stuck for life. With the sense of dread creeping in, she then asked if I went through a recent breakup. She was spot on. She concluded the session with your body carries the gene, but it is your vibration which activates or deactivates it. I had my aha moment. The fog lifted. I no longer felt stuck. I was determined to change the diagnosis and deactivate that gene. I began taking full responsibility over everything in my life. I realized I created these health issues based on my reaction and interactions within my relationships. So if I created this, then I can uncreate it or recreate the life I'm living. From there, I intensified my journey of internal work, energy work, meditation, self-love, and inner reflection. I went back to the rheumatologist 6 months later and redid the blood work. All results came back negative. On top of that, all of my joint swelling and other symptoms had gone away completely. Through my willingness to break down and change, I was free of the comfortable sabotage I had created for myself and ready to embark on this new and unknown journey. I'm going to pop over here for 1 second because, it is not showing it. There it is. All right. They did an update on our little streaming service here, so everything's in a different spot. All right, one more sip of water. We're going to the next chapter. Chapter 2. Who am I? Questioning everything. Hey, Starseed, can you find aspects of your reality where you have been assuming the best, but never really questioning it? Once you break free of the ignorance, there tends to be this newfound fascination with needing to know and know it all. Sometimes that leads to a spiral of fear because you realize you don't know, well, anything. Not to worry. Eventually, within your awakening, you'll get to a place where you truly don't need to know because you already see yourself clearly and understand that everything else is just momentary illusion. Yay. Who am I? One of the biggest fundamental questions since the dawning of humanity. Who am I? The very beginning of awakening starts with that fundamental question. Who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? Is there something more than this? The very concept of waking up requires us to start asking questions, to begin freeing ourselves from the surface level ignorance instilled in us since birth. Usually we get to this first stage of awakening through two different routes. Route 1, blissful questioning. This is the route where everything in your life is so blissfully fantastic that you become bored and complacent. For example, you could be 40 years old, have a beautiful family, a stable job, a loving relationship. You begin to look around in your successful and abundant life and start to question things. I have everything society tells me I should have, and yet I'm still unsatisfied. I feel like there needs to be more, but I'm not sure what it is. And I'm not sure what the more is. It's not a new car, a bigger house, more animals or kids. It's the inner push to look beyond this physical world. At a certain point, this physical world simply isn't enough. We long for a deeper and more meaningful connection to fulfillment. Since we have never been taught the concepts of energy, consciousness, or the soul, we become restless and unhappy with the circumstances given to us. This creates the need and push for an awakening to begin. This is a much rarer and more graceful way to be pushed into awakening. Route 2, fearful questioning. This is the more common route of awakening, and simultaneously a much more difficult method. This process begins when everything in your life is collapsing. You begin to have those aha moments. Usually those moments consist of thoughts breaking through your old programming, such as, actually, I'm not happy in my life, job, relationship, living situation. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know why I'm here, or even what the point of living is. Whatever it is, you could consider this to be your rock bottom. It comes through these startling moments when we begin to detach from our false perception we have projected into our lives. Usually that perception is a complete slew of old, limiting belief patterns we repeat to reaffirm a level of comfortability. When we refuse to change because we are scared, that fear builds to a point where we become extremely disconnected from our true selves. This route of awakening sucks a lot. It's shocking, it's painful, it's emotional, but honestly, it will help you wake up faster than Route 1. When things are comfortable, there isn't this dramatic need to change. Route 2 forces us through an unpleasant change, but at least the change happens almost immediately. The denial phase. This is a phase most people encounter throughout their awakening process. In the beginning, middle, or end, we attempt to convince ourselves that everything is okay. We don't really need to change. This feeling will just blow over. Newsflash, it doesn't. It actually gets worse the more you attempt to deny it. The biggest proponent of the autopilot mentality, the thing that fuels it the most, is the concept of denial. Constantly telling ourselves we are happy is the biggest reason why the majority of society refuses to change. Why change? I'm happy. Really? I'm happy. No, really, I'm happy. Denial isn't just a river in Egypt. It's a river we all have to wade through on our quest for the truth. Regardless of which route you, which route got you to wake up, there we go, or even pick up this book, both directions lead you to my next chapter, the incubator. On a personal note, my collapse and transition came through at 16. I truly had everything a 16-year-old could ask for. Decent grades, good friends, a supportive family. Although I had everything society said I needed to be happy, I was still utterly restless, anxious, and depressed. I got to a point where I would rather be alone than be with friends. The excitement of going to a party was clouded by the anxiety of feeling like it was all pointless. I would love getting new clothes to wear, and yet even that felt empty. I would go to the mall and get a new shirt, but it would just sit in the closet with the price tag still on it. There was nothing within the physical world that could give me what my soul was yearning for. fulfillment, and spiritual connection. Nothing mattered to me anymore. Nothing had validity. Nothing was giving me what I needed. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. I just knew I didn't have it. I began to question everything. I went to high school teachers, talked to my doctors, and asked friends at school, what is the point? Really, I was asking, what is the meaning of all of this? I remember thinking, if this is it, if all life consists of is going to school, spending money going to more school, getting a 9 to 5, getting a family, and then dying, count me out. I was desperate to find more to life than what was just presented. There had to be something more, right? It was through this anxiety and restlessness and questioning where I was, finally given the opportunity to explore the answers for myself at 16. My dad gave me my first ever past life regression. In an hour and a half, we went into around 5 different lifetimes. Lives where I was a philosopher, a healer, a channeler. In each of these lives, I saw myself as someone who had the capacity to give back to humanity, to give something that wasn't tangible or physical, to give something I didn't even know I had. I found out through time that my mission was to give others answers to the questions I was asking the whole time. Past life regression taught me 2 things. One, that I was just the sum of all my lives, rather than just who I saw in the mirror. And two, that time was an illusion. At 16, I was able to actually see and go back to multiple and entire lifetimes in just an hour and a half. The asking for answers led me to the tools I needed to begin finding what I was looking for. I went through the blissful questioning route, and I'm grateful for it. It was chaotic, but also graceful way of waking me up. Many of my friends became homeless before they were able to wake up, and I can't even imagine the trauma and pain that caused them. Think about your awakening. How did you get yourself there? How did you get yourself here right now, reading this book? It doesn't matter which route you took. Be grateful that you got yourself here, since many others all over the world still need to go through this tough step on their awakening journey. Wow. Well, I'm going to stop there because I think that's a really good beginning. And I really like this book so far, and I hope you will too. So that is all for now, my very dear friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Never forget that you are amazing. You are loved. Be well, be safe out there, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye.